I stand on the creaking porch of my father's house, suitcase at my feet, 3 boxes stacked beside me like sentinels of a life I've hauled back home. The air smells of damp pine, the same as every summer Dad oiled this lock, his calloused hands steady with purpose. My key jams in the slot. No familiar click. I jiggle it, twist harder, press my shoulder against the weathered wood. Nothing. The late afternoon sun slants across the peeling paint, casting shadows that stretch like fingers toward the garden Dad once tended. 6 years, college, grad school, internship, have kept me away, but today I'm back to claim what's mine. The house Dad built, the one he left me in his will when I was 18, standing beside his casket with the deed heavy in my hand. Mom knew I was coming. We spoke last week. So why won't the door budge? My breath catches, a cold prickle creeping up my spine. I try again, the metal biting into my palm, but the lock holds firm, stubborn as a secret. Footsteps thud inside, and the door swings inward. Chris fills the entrance, his broad shoulders blocking the light, a faded Red Sox tee clinging to his frame. His eyes flicker with surprise. Genuine, sharp, before he masks it with a grin. Madison, we weren't expecting you until next week. His voice pitches too high, the smile stretched tight across his jaw. I blink, clutching the key like a lifeline. I told Mom I'd be here today, I say, keeping my tone light despite the churn in my gut. We talked last week. Right. He scratches his thinning hair, stepping back just enough to let me peer past him. Memory's not what it used to be. The suitcase drags behind me as I edge forward, the porch groaning under my weight. Something's wrong. Chris's stance, the silence beyond the threshold. This is my house, but it doesn't feel like home. Not yet. I cross the line, heart thudding, ready to find out why. I step inside and my suitcase slips from my fingers, thudding onto the hardwood with a dull echo. The entryway hits me like a stranger's house. The warm beige walls Dad painted, gone, replaced by stark white that glares under the new recessed lights. His oak coat rack, where I'd hang my backpack after school, vanished. In its place, a sleek glass console table reflects the emptiness back at me. The fishing prints he'd framed, each knot and wave a story he'd tell me, are missing. Instead, black and white abstracts hang in cold precision, their sharp edges slicing through memory. The air feels crisp, like a showroom, not a home. You've redecorated, I say, the words flat in my mouth, inadequate against the weight of what's lost. Chris runs a hand through his hair, casual for a Wednesday afternoon in jeans and that faded tee. Lisa wanted a modern touch, he says, shrugging like it's nothing. You know how she is. I don't. Mom never cared about decor when Dad was alive. She'd laugh at his fussing over paint swatches, call it his domain. My chest tightens, a cold suspicion settling deep. Where's Mom? I ask, still frozen in the entryway, boots rooted to the floor. Shopping, Chris replies, glancing at my luggage. Should be back soon. His eyes linger on the boxes, then flick to me. You know, Madison, you might want to look at apartments soon. Rental market's tight around here. I stare at him, the words sinking like ice water. Apartments? Sure. He gestures vaguely, a salesman's wave. Young professional like you, you'll want your own space, independence and all that. The implication lands hard. He doesn't expect me to stay. In my house. My pulse quickens, but before I can fire back, the front door swings open. Mom, Lisa, bustles in, grocery bags crinkling in her arms. Her hair's shorter, blonder than I remember, highlights catching the light. She stops dead when she sees me, eyes darting between me and Chris. Madison, you're here already. She sets the bags down, crossing to me for a quick hug. It's stiff, hollow, her arms barely pressing against me before she pulls back. We were just talking about you this morning, weren't we, Chris? Chris nods, avoiding my gaze. I was saying how Madison might want to look at apartments. Lisa's smile falters, a crack in her mask. Well, no rush on that. You can stay in the guest room for now. The guest room, not my room. My throat burns. Where are my things? I ask, voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. From my bedroom? Lisa's gaze slides away. We boxed up some stuff in the attic. Ethan needed more space as he got older, so we gave him your room. Made sense since you were away at college. Something inside me cracks, sharp and silent. And Dad's study? The nervous glance between them tells me everything before she speaks. That's Ethan's bedroom now. He's 16. He needed his privacy. She hesitates. Your father's been gone 6 years, Madison. 6 years. I was 18, clutching that deed, trusting them to keep this house for me. Now it's theirs in all but name, and I'm a guest in my own inheritance. My fingers curl into fists. This isn't right, not even close. I push open the door to Dad's study, and the air shifts. Gym socks and soda, not his cedar cologne. Basketball posters plaster the walls, their glossy edges curling where tape fails. A gaming console hulks in the corner where his bookshelves once stood, wires snaking across the floor. The wide window where he'd read with the garden sprawling beyond is smothered by dark blinds, shutting out the view he loved. A twin bed with rumpled green sheets sits where his desk used to be, the wood grain still etched in my memory from hours spent watching him work. Nothing remains of him, not a trace. I stand motionless, absorbing the erasure. 6 years ago, I stood beside his casket, the lawyer pressing the deed into my hand. James Carter's only child. His daughter, inheriting the house he built with his own hands. Just for a while, Lisa had said then, her voice soft with grief. Until you finish college, we'll keep it up for you. I trusted her, trusted them. Now, Lisa watches me from the doorway, her hands twisting together, that nervous tick I've known since childhood. Madison, we should talk, she says, barely above a whisper. Yes, I reply, my voice steadier than I feel. We should. In the kitchen, she sits across from me, eyes avoiding mine. Chris has vanished, conveniently, predictably. What's going on? I ask, leaning forward. Why does Chris think I should get an apartment instead of living in my house? She flinches at my house, a tiny recoil. Chris believes, that is, we thought. She takes a shaky breath. He thinks the house belongs to us now. The world tilts. The house Dad left to me? In his will? The one I have the deed to? He says after 6 years of us living here, paying utilities, making improvements. Her voice trails off, fragile as glass. You knew, I whisper, betrayal clawing at my chest. You knew it was legally mine, and you let him believe he could take it? I didn't know what to do, she admits, tears brimming. Chris was so insistent, and you were gone, building your life. It seemed easier to lie? My voice rises, sharp despite my effort to cage it. For 6 years? To erase Dad from his own home while you let me think everything was fine? The tears spill down her cheeks, but they don't soften me. I'm sorry, Madison, she says, and it's hollow. Too late. Sorry can't undo 6 years of deception. Sorry can't bring Dad back to these walls. I stand, chair scraping against the tile, my heart hammering but my resolve hardening. They've taken enough. I won't let them take this, too. The attic door creaks as I push it open, the sound slicing through the stillness of the night. My flashlight beam cuts a narrow path across the unfinished plywood, dust drifting like whispers in the stale air. I step carefully, testing each board before trusting it with my weight. The house groaning beneath me as if reluctant to reveal its secrets. 6 years of absence press against my ribs, but I need answers. Something to explain the betrayal simmering in Lisa's tears and Chris's tight smiles. Dad? I murmur to the darkness, half expecting his steady voice to answer, like it did when I was small and scared. The light catches on a stack of cardboard boxes pressed against the far wall, their edges softened by time. Lisa's neat handwriting labels them. James, books, James, photos, James, Navy. A family archive tucked away like a shameful past. I kneel beside the nearest one, lifting the lid with trembling fingers. Dad's copy of The Old Man and the Sea rests on top, its leather spine cracked from years of his hands turning the pages. I press it to my chest, inhaling the faint cedar cologne that clings to it, a ghost of him lingering in the attic shadows. Beneath it more books, dog-eared, loved, fill the box, each one a piece of him they've hidden. 3 boxes down, I find a battered metal filing drawer, the one that sat in Dad's desk. I slide it open, rifling through hanging folders, until my fingers brush one marked house. Inside, the original deed stares back at me, my name, Madison Carter, in bold print, dated 6 years ago. Property tax records follow, then a stack of mail addressed to me. College newsletters, credit card offers, voter registration, all opened, all stashed here. My breath hitches. They've been intercepting my life, burying it up here while I was away. A folder labeled Utilities catches my eye next. I flip it open, and there it is. 6 years of electric bills, water bills, tax statements, all in Chris's name. Methodical proof of his residency, his claim. Oh my God, I breathe, the weight of their deception pressing against my chest like a physical ache. They've been building a case, erasing Dad while plotting to steal what's mine through adverse possession. My hands shake as I clutch the papers, fury rising through the grief. A floorboard creaks behind me, and I spin, flashlight blinding Ethan in the doorway. His lanky frame slouches, backpack slung over one shoulder, confusion knitting his brows. "What are you doing up here?" he asks, voice sharp with teenage edge. "Going through my father's things," I say, straightening, the deed still in my grip. "Mom said not to mess with that stuff." He shifts his weight, uneasy. I bet she did. I meet his gaze, steady despite the tremor in my hands. "Ethan, did you know this house belongs to me? Legally?" His face hardens. "What are you talking about? This is our house. We've lived here since I was 10. "Because my dad left it to me when he died," I say, keeping my voice calm. "I let Mom and Chris stay here while I was at college. They were supposed to take care of it for me." "That's not true." His voice cracks, doubt flickering. "Dad bought this house. We fixed it up. We've paid the bills." "Is that what Chris told you?" I hold up the deed. My room was Dad's study, this house he built, that he left to his only daughter. "You're lying," Ethan snaps, backing away, shaking his head. He turns and thunders down the stairs, calling for Chris, his music soon blasting angry beats through the walls. My phone buzzes, Sophie's name on the screen. "Madison, you okay?" she asks when I answer, her voice a lifeline. "Not really," I whisper, glancing at the papers. "It's worse than I thought. They've been planning this for years." "My spare room's yours if you need it," she says. Relief washes through me. I'm not alone in this fight. Not anymore. Morning light filters through the hotel room blinds as I sit at the desk, pen scratching across my eviction timeline. The attic's revelations burn in my mind, those papers, that betrayal, fueling every line I write. I've checked out of the guest room, unable to sleep under their roof, and now I'm arming myself. At 9 a.m. sharp, the locksmith arrives, his equipment bag slung over his shoulder, tools clinking like a war drum. "All exterior doors?" he confirms, raising an eyebrow. "Yes," I say. Dad's watch ticking solid on my wrist. "And I'll need 6 sets of keys." He nods, no questions asked, and gets to work. I like that. Efficiency over curiosity. Next, I drive to the county clerk's office, a folder of documents tucked under my arm. Dad's will, the deed, my ID. The clerk, a woman with silver-streaked hair, moves with quiet precision, her stamp thudding like a gavel as she verifies each page. Property taxes are current, she notes, glancing up. Utilities are being transferred today? Finished this morning, I reply, voice steady. Each item on my list gets checked off, deliberate and sure. By afternoon, I'm in Paul's downtown office, Dad's old lawyer, now mine. He slides eviction notices across his desk, his gray eyes calm but firm. This gives them 1 week, he explains. The law allows longer, but given the circumstances, 1 week's generous, I say, signing where he points. The pen feels like a weapon, each stroke loosening the tightness that's gripped me since the lock refused my key. Chris's text buzzes in. Family meeting, kitchen, 8 p.m. tonight. And I set my phone face down, ignoring the audacity of him summoning me to my house. Back at the hotel, I review the plan. The locksmith's drill hums in my memory, a promise of control. Paul's words echo. Adverse possession requires good faith. Their deception voids it. I've got the deed, the will, proof of my awareness, emails from years past where I checked in, permitted their stay. They've got nothing but lies. My phone vibrates again. Mark, my boss at Carter Financial, Dad's old friend. Everything all right with the move-in? He asks, warmth in his tone. Not exactly, I say, explaining in clipped terms. A long silence follows. Take the week, he says finally. Work remotely when you can. Your father would want me to help. Another ally. I add his name to my list. Resolve hardening. They've underestimated me, but I'm ready now. Keys, law, and will in hand. Tonight, I'll face them, and I won't bend. I walk into the kitchen at 8 p.m., portfolio tucked under my arm, the quartz countertop shining cold under the new fixtures Chris installed. He sits in Dad's chair at the dining table, elbows planted like he owns the place. Lisa's eyes are red-rimmed, her hands clasped tight. Ethan slouches against the counter, arms crossed, glaring at me through his dark bangs. The air hums with tension, thick as the cedar Dad once sanded into this house's bones. I remain standing, my boots firm on the tile. Sit down, Madison, Chris says, his boardroom voice smooth but edged. This won't take long, I reply, placing the portfolio on the table. Lisa sniffles, wiping her nose. This is about family, she says, her voice trembling. Is it? I slide the first document across the wood. Dad's will, my name bold on the deed. Because family doesn't conspire to steal from each other. Ethan pushes off the counter, his sneakers squeaking. You're destroying everything. This is my home. No, Ethan, I say, keeping my tone level. It's not. And that's not your fault, but it's the reality. Chris leans forward, his face flushing. Be reasonable, Madison. We've lived here 6 years, put money into improvements. Adverse possession requires the true owner to be unaware, I cut in, pulling out emails from my college years. Check-ins about the house, my permission for their stay. I visited. We talked. I was aware. His jaw tightens, and I place the eviction notice down next. You have 1 week. Lisa gasps, her hand flying to her mouth. 1 week? Where are we supposed to go? That's not my concern, I say, the words tasting sharp, but necessary. You've had 6 years to prepare. Chris stands, chair scraping loud against the floor. You ungrateful little... I wouldn't, I warn, meeting his gaze. The property's under surveillance now. Any damage, any items taken that aren't yours, and it's legal action. My voice is firm as iron, forged in the attic's dust and Paul's office. The mask slips, his eyes narrow, fury twisting his mouth. You'll regret this, he hisses. Probably, I nod. But I'll regret it in my house. Lisa reaches across the table, tears spilling again. Madison, please. We're family. Everything we've done was for stability, for all of us, including you. Family doesn't do this, I say, sliding Paul's business card toward them. I spoke with Paul today, Dad's lawyer. He says your deception proves bad faith. Adverse possession won't hold. Chris's flush deepens. You went behind our backs? I'm protecting what's mine. I hold his stare, unblinking. Mrs. Harper next door's been worried for years about how fast you erased Dad. She's ready to testify. Ethan steps forward, voice breaking. So, what happens to me? Do you even care? This isn't about you, I say softly, meeting his red-rimmed eyes. It's my home, too. Not just some paper, he snaps, storming out. Lisa sobs, but Chris stays silent, his calculation crumbling. I gather my documents, heart hammering but steps steady. 1 week. They're on notice, and I'm not backing down. Morning sun spills through the living room windows as Sophie arrives with coffee and a determined grin, her dark curls bouncing. Where do we start? She asks, surveying the space I've already begun to reclaim. The confrontation last night left my hands steady, but my heart raw. And now, I'm ready to undo their erasure. Tom and Emily, colleagues I've barely known a week, unload moving boxes from Tom's truck, their chatter a quiet comfort. Dad's study, I answer, leading them down the hall. Ethan's stuff is gone, shifted to the basement, I assume, and the bare walls bear only tack marks from his posters. I rip down the dark blinds, sunlight washing over the garden Dad tended, its overgrown edges a testament to their neglect. The room smells faintly of teenage chaos still, but I'll fix that. Sophie scrubs the baseboards while Tom hauls out the gaming console, and I unpack Dad's fishing prints, their wooden frames solid in my hands. Each nail I tap into the wall feels like a stitch, sewing Dad back into this house. A knock at the front door interrupts us, and I find Mr. Harper on the porch, his weathered hands clutching Dad's garden tools, rusted but familiar. Thought you might want these back, he says, voice gruff. James asked me to keep an eye on them. My fingers trace the worn handles, Dad's grip still etched in the wood. Thank you, I manage, throat tightening. Come in for tea? He nods, and over 2 cups, his stories spill out. Dad planting roses, fixing fences, laughing over beers. Each word rebuilds something inside me, a piece of the man they tried to erase. The bittersweet triumph sinks in. I'm winning this, but the family I trusted is gone. Back in the study, we finish hanging the prints. A schooner under sail, Dad's favorite, and I step back, breathing easier. Chris storms in that evening, his shadow darkening the doorway, as I adjust the final frame. This is ridiculous, he announces, voice thick with frustration. You can't just, I can, and I am, I say, turning slowly, hammer still in hand. I've spoken to Paul. Your adverse possession claims fraud, hiding my mail, lying about ownership. He flinches, and Lisa appears behind him, eyes fixed on the transformed room. You found the pictures, she whispers, stepping inside, her fingers twisting together. Mr. Harper saved them, I say, straightening the schooner. Along with Dad's tools. Why, Mom? Why did you let this happen? Her shoulders sag. It was easier. After James died, everything was so hard. Chris said he'd handle it. And then it just snowballed. The truth is so small, so weak. No grand plot, just cowardice. I'm sorry, Madison, she says, and this time I believe her. But it's not enough. Well, it's not easy now, I reply, voice firm. 1 week, Mom. Find a place. They leave, and I linger in the study, Dad's presence settling around me like a quiet victory, one I've fought for alone. The doorbell rings at 10:17 a.m., sharp and expected. Through the window, I spot Chris's silver SUV in the driveway, Lisa slumped in the passenger seat, face turned away. Ethan stands beside him on the porch, hands shoved deep in his hoodie pockets, shoulders hunched, like he's bracing for a storm. I take a steadying breath, Dad's watch heavy on my wrist. It's ticking a metronome to my calm fury. Last night's restoration steeled me, and today, I'll end this. I open the door, standing firm in the threshold. Madison, Chris says, forcing a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. We've come to pick up a few things. I wasn't expecting you until this afternoon, I reply, one hand on the knob, blocking their way. A rental truck idles across the street, not just a few things then. Plans changed, he says, gesturing behind me. We won't take long. What things specifically? My voice stays controlled, every word measured. I've prepared for this. Documents and cameras ready. His smile tightens. The dining room set, Lisa's grandmother's, and the hallway mirror. Dad's mirror, the one he restored? I raise an eyebrow. And the dining set he built for their 5th anniversary? Ethan's head snaps up, confusion flickering across his face. Lisa remembers it differently, Chris says, shifting his weight, his casual tone fraying. I'm sure she does. I step back, letting them in. Come discuss this properly. They follow me to the living room, where Dad's photos line the walls again. Him fishing, building, smiling. Ethan's eyes dart around, taking it in. I retrieve a folder from the side table. I have something to show you. We don't need paperwork, Chris snaps, arms crossed. Actually, you do. I hand him Dad's will, the dining set and mirror listed as mine. These were left to me, his eyes narrow as he scans it. And I pull out more. An appraisal from 6 years ago. Insurance papers marking them as heirlooms. Protected under my policy. Ethan steps closer, peering at the pages. Dad? His voice wavers, uncertain. Chris ignores him. This doesn't change anything. We've maintained them for years. While living rent-free in my home, I remind him, walking to the security camera in the corner. I've got footage of you last week, searching Dad's study for sale documents. His face pales, and I press on, pulling out printed emails. And these, to Riverdale Realty 3 months ago. You planned to sell my house after I agreed to some fake arrangement. Ethan's head whips toward him. You were going to sell? You said we were downsizing because... Ethan, wait in the car, Chris cuts in, voice like steel. No. Ethan steps back, fists clenched. You told me Madison was selfish, kicking us out after we took care of her house. That's what he needed you to believe? I say gently. Like he convinced Mom it was best for everyone. The front door creaks open, and Lisa shuffles in, arms wrapped around herself, smaller than I've ever seen her. Take your personal belongings, I say, meeting Chris's glare. That's it. The cameras are rolling, and Paul's on speed dial. You can't do this, Chris hisses, but the fight's draining from him. I already have. I hold his gaze, unyielding. Ethan storms out, Lisa following, her head bowed. Chris lingers, then turns, his angry profile sharp as their car pulls away. I close the curtains, new keys solid in my palm, my house, reclaimed. The battle's won, but the cost sits heavy in my chest. Midnight cloaks the study as I collapse onto my childhood bed, the guest sheets still on, but mine again. Starlight spills through the wide window, silvering the hardwood Dad laid, its grain a map of his hands. On the desk, his photo rests, him in this room, surrounded by books, his quiet smile, a anchor. The day's victory hums in my bones, but exhaustion pulls at me, a tide after the storm. I've fought for this, restored him to these walls, and now I can rest. The silence feels different tonight. Not empty, but full, like Dad's presence has settled back where it belongs. The dining set gleams downstairs. The mirror reflects my shadow in the hall, and his tools wait in the shed. Each piece I've clawed back from their grasp stitches this house together again. Lisa's apology echoes, "I'm sorry, Madison." And Ethan's hurt lingers, his question about the sale a wound I didn't mean to inflict. They're gone now, to some apartment or hotel, and I'm here, alone, but home. Sleep tugs at me, but my eyes drift to the desk drawer, half open from yesterday's unpacking. A folded paper peeks out, yellowed at the edges. I slide it free, unfolding it with careful fingers. A letter in Dad's slanted script, dated a month before he died. "Madison, if anything happens, watch Chris. He's asked about the house too many times. Trust your gut." My breath catches, a chill threading through the triumph. He saw it coming, even then. I tuck the letter back, heart pounding, but resolve unshaken. The war's not over, not fully, but tonight, I've won. The bed creaks as I lie back, Dad's watch ticking soft on my wrist. This is my true home, reclaimed from their lies, and I'll defend it. Sleep claims me at last, the first real rest in 6 years, here where I belong.